You know, it's really amazing what things the brain does and doesn't remember. For example, I couldn't tell you what I ate on September the 10th, where I went, what I was doing, who I was talking to, anything. But September the 11th of 2001, I remember that as clearly as if it had just happened, yesterday or even today. I can tell you every feeling I had, everything I saw, everything I smelled, where I went, what I ate, what I was doing. It's been burned into my mind, a memory I'll never forget. It's the worst attack on American soil in recent history, and it's something I can remember so vividly. It's as though it just happened. I remember that day I was working as a contractor, actually. I had a small side business where I was doing home repairs and commercial renovation, etc., as a way to earn some extra income. I had taken on a contract working for a church in Omaha. They needed me to remodel their kitchen. And so I was remodeling the kitchen that day. I remember exactly what I was doing. I was actually replacing ceiling tiles. At the moment that first plane struck the building, I was listening to a radio station. I was standing on the second step. This is how vividly I remember. I was standing on the second step of a white and black step ladder, and I was installing a ceiling tile in the new drop ceiling I had just finished installing all the framework for. And I remember hearing over the radio the announcer, the morning show hosts, coming on the radio saying, this just came in, we just heard that a plane has struck the World Trade Center, one of the towers, and they were talking and speculating. Initially, nobody knew exactly what sort of plane it was. A lot of people likened it to the plane that had struck the Empire State Building several years before. A lot of people speculated that it was just a little, like crop duster, one of those little tour planes, something like that. And so there was a lot of speculation. Nobody knew exactly what was going on at the time. The second plane struck, and then I heard word that there was a plane striking at the Pentagon. And as all of these things happened, it occurred to me exactly what was going on. We were being attacked by planes that were being commandeered. And they had started to speculate this, and of course, the word terrorism had been popping here, there, back and forth, but it wasn't really until the Pentagon and the second tower were struck that it was actually being raised as a serious thought that this is a terrorist attack. And so when I heard all these things, I left the kitchen there and I went up to the offices because I knew several people working at that church. And we watched one of the televisions. We had cable in there, and we watched as they were showing videos from what was happening, and we got to see firsthand these pictures of people jumping out of the towers to their death, people being destroyed, killed by these evil terrorist acts. And it sickens me. I have trouble talking. It sickens me. It really does. I don't know what to say other than it was just a horrible, disgusting act of terrorism. I remember a lot of weeping. I remember a lot of praying, a lot of people looking for answers. That day is a day that will be burned in my memory for the rest of history. For as long as I live, 9/11/01 is going to be a memory that I won't be able to get rid of. I'll have it forever. That being said, after the fact, I learned there were several close calls with friends and family and whatnot. I had two different friends who were in the towers a week before they were struck. One was visiting as a tourist and happened to be touring the towers over the weekend before the September 11th attacks. The other one was in the towers on September 10th. On the 10th of September, they had flown to New York and they were actually doing a presentation for an organization in the Twin Towers. And then they had left that evening, and so they were already on their way back home well before the attacks happened, but they were in the towers on the 10th. I came to find out later, much later, years later, my wife, her cousin, who incidentally is moving back to New York just left for New York yesterday, actually, was in the Twin Towers again the week preceding the terrorist attacks. And so I know of 3 people personally who, if timing had been a little bit different, things had been changed just a little bit, they wouldn't have been here. And that really, it disturbs me. It shocks me. The only other thing I have to say about this is that we need to be strong. We need to show that we're not afraid, that we're still living strong. Like I said, my wife's cousin, she's moved back to New York. She almost lost her life in those attacks, and she's moving back there, and she is determined to follow her dreams, to follow what she is led to do, and to live in New York to do these things. I've got several friends who have gone to New York. I've got several friends who are going to New York. And I applaud them. And I think if we live our lives in terror, if we live our lives in fear, then they've won. And I'm not going to let them win. I'm going to keep living my life as best I can, knowing what I believe in, knowing who I believe in, and just living it out to the best of my ability. That's all I got, really. Later.